Yes. Okay, as you can see guys, I'm on a brand new 2020 KTM 300 XCW TPI. It's my first ride out on the bike. I've got about 7 minutes, well maybe 10 on it. I was tired of riding my 2019. That's a bike. I mean, I'd ridden this 2020, not this 2020, but I'd ridden Tyler's 2020 300 XCW enough to know that it was just markedly better than my, yes, check that out. Markedly better than my 19 in every way. It had better power delivery, better balance, better forks, better everything. It was, and I attribute a lot of those changes and the improvements to the frame. Obviously the engine mapping helped a lot too, but I had just spent enough time on his bike to know that it's time for me to move on from the 2019. The bike still runs fine and all that, but these 2020s are just so much better. So I've spent the last 3 days working on the bike, putting tubeless on the bike. I put new tires since I was doing tubeless anyway, running a Bridgestone M59 up front. In the rear I've done a IRC VE33S Gakoda, that's a gummy tire, or hybrid gummy tire anyway, that I love. Did bar ends on the bike. I've got fork shoes on the bike, fork guards on the bike, rear disc guard, the chain guide guard is what I mean to say. Just a whole ton of little things. It's amazing. KTM says these bikes are ready to race, and I say, okay, but are they ready to ride soft enduro? Oh, skid plate, just a ton of things. I've got a whole list. There's like more than 20 things that I do to the bikes. Move my levers in, put Teflon tape under the levers, move my bars forward, take steering stops out. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. I posted it on my Facebook page a while back, and if you want to see the list of the things that I do to each bike as I get them. Oh, I put a radiator fan on it. I'm just trying to think of all the things. If you want to get that list, just send me an email. Just email kyle@dirtbikechannel.com. I can give you the list of the things. This is a trail I saw a few weeks ago, and I've only done it one time, and there was still snow on it then. So I wanted to come back and just check it out. I last rode here on the Beta. I don't think I have footage of that. I might. But man, these bikes, lift up my foot there. I was almost planted on a rock. These bikes are just so freaking good. In 2020, the W made huge improvements from 19 to 20 in my mind. So the frame updates being some of the biggest. Obviously the engine mapping is huge, but these 2020 XCWs are the most XC-like bikes. Oh, I think, is it up there? Yeah. They're the most XC-like bikes ever, and that is what I love. So I was trying to decide if I should wait till the 2021 KTMs come out, but ultimately that would have meant I'd be without a W to ride for the next 4 to 6 months, and I wasn't willing to do that. So I picked this one up, and it'll be kind of like my hard enduro bike. Obviously this isn't hard enduro. I'm just kind of taking it easy, breaking it in. As you guys know, I'm not a big motor break-in guy. I just don't run them super hard on the first tank of gas. And to be honest, on 300 two-stroke, I'm mostly half throttle and under almost all the time anyway. I mean, seriously, you're on a bike like this with these motors, you're mostly 30% and under, I would say like 85-90% of the time anyway. You just don't have to run a lot of throttle on these bikes. They've got so much torque that you don't use a lot of your throttle, if I'm dead honest, you know. So but as you may or may not be able to see here, it's a pretty, another thing I did is put a Enduro Engineering extended brake disc on the bike. I just noticed it because I'm, you know, kind of feathering both brakes. I like those extended brake tips from Enduro Engineering. I'm sure there's other companies that make them, but I like the EE tip. Anyway, the fork on this, you can kind of see the rocks and maybe some of this off-camber terrain. The fork, this is the Explorer open cartridge fork. I swear, this thing just soaks up everything. As long as this, and the speeds can get higher with this fork too. It's totally tunable. But I just set up the bike in the standard config, basically like with the clickers, that's what I mean. I've got the clickers set up where, where does the trail go? Right here. I just go with my clickers on compression and rebound into the standard configuration. It's like, I think it's like 15, if I remember right from yesterday or the day before, it's like 15 clicks of compression. You go bottom it out, right, is what you do. And then you go 15 clicks out on compression, 15 clicks out on rebound. I think that's the front and the rear, if I'm not mistaken. And then on my high speed on the shock, it's just 2 turns out. I set them up like that, and then I just go ride the things. And it works out pretty well with these Katos. I usually don't end up having to go too far from there. They just absorb things and don't do anything funky on me, especially the W's. With the XCs, with the air fork, I tend to run a little bit lower pressure. There's a drop up here. The one time I came here, there was a drop and we checked it out. And it's kind of in my mind because I know it's kind of a interesting drop, like a little waterfall that we saw. So it's coming up here within the next, I would say it's got to be in the next block. Like I said, I've only done this trail the one time, that day on the beta, maybe a month, maybe 5 weeks ago. Okay, here it is. And just take it straight off that, I guess. Yeah. Oh yes, that's a sweet one. Gonna have to go back up that too. That'll be fun. Oh, shoot. So, what we need to do, just go right up that. Yes, that was it. That was what we were looking for. Let's see if we can go around this tree right here. Yep. It's a lot gnarlier than it looks. I'll tell you that right now. Oh yes. Because you got to make that turn. You got to just turn and go nailing up that. And I'm sure that looks like nothing on the helmet cam here, but it's an intimidating feature for sure. But a good one. And that's where this just lugging power of the 302 stroke just comes in. You cannot overstate how much these modern big bore 2-strokes assist in those areas. You can do that on a 250 2-stroke as well. I mean, you can do that on any bike if you have the skill. But for me, this bike is likely the easiest in the world for me to do that on. This one or a 250 or a 300XC for sure. And when the going is slow like this, the gearing of the W is totally fine. Low first gear, lower, and also a pretty low second gear. The gap between second and third isn't as big of a thing when you're riding trails like these. So it's manageable for sure. Man, it's just amazing how smooth these bikes are, smooth that motor is. Freaking awesome.